So let's talk about the Chimera music evolution because that's very interesting. I remember when I actually I'm a Chimera fan since the Pass Out of Existence days. Like
Nice.
Pass Out of Existence, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's like 20 years ago. And
Yeah.
when Impossibility of Reason came out, I was like, whoa, man, is this the same band from the Pass Out days? Like there is a huge step forward in evolution of the writing process, even the mixing and everything in between. So my question is, what was the inspiration and motivation to create such a masterpiece?
In Impossibility Reason,
Of course.
I think it was that we were of. I think that we got unexpected results with Pass Out of Existence, and that drove us to just refocus. And the result of that was the Impossibility Reason. With Pass Out of Existence, we kind of stepped out of our comfort zone and went out to LA to record with a producer that we had never recorded with, and we were caught up in a lot that was going on with new metal and just the image and the sound and corn and all this, and we kind of got off track with that. I don't regret any of that, and I don't, it's all part of the history, all part of the process. But all that happening, and then in our mind having hope of certain levels of success built up that didn't happen after the release of that record, and then kind of just stepping out of it and examining maybe what went wrong. I think that we said, all right, we need to get back on course here and get hitting like the metal that we like, that maybe the hardcore just groove metal stuff that I think we had maybe more on This Present Darkness, our original EP, and the material we were writing when we first came together, before maybe we got a little off track. And so we just said, let's get back to that a little bit. Let's go back to 6 strings and tune up to drop C, which we're influenced by Machine Head and that drop C tuning at the time. And let's just kind of see what happens. And the Impossibility then was absolutely organic, and it just started flowing, and the vibes, and it just felt amazing right away. That whole writing process, everybody was into it. Everybody was stoked. Everybody knew that the stuff was just sounding cool. We didn't think maybe that it was going to be revolutionary or anything, or that, we were hopeful that it would be successful, but we didn't know that it'd have, quite the effect in terms of a masterpiece, as you called it. Thank you. And we were just firing on all cylinders, and that was the result of that. So thank God.
All right. Self-titled and the Resurrection album also were very powerful albums. Although they didn't launch Chimera into superstardom, let's say. Why do you think Chimera didn't get as big as The Lamb of God or Trivium? That's something I always wanted to ask somebody in Chimera, because I remember back in those days, mid 2000s, pretty much all these bands from the new wave of American heavy metal were in the same level, right? Lamb of God, Chimera, Trivium, Shadows Fall, Unearth, God Forbid, and that's pretty much it. But since 2006 or 7, maybe, Lamb of God and Trivium, they went like a super rocket, and they those bands maintain that level, right? So my question is, why didn't Chimera get that super rocket launch to stardom like these particular bands, Lamb of God and Trivium?
Well, I certainly can't say for sure, but I think that just being able to hang on and weather any storms that came their way or our way made a difference. Certain bands just hung on, and that longevity of Lamb of God to put them at the place that they're at right now, just on top of it all, and Trivium in their own right as well. They're maybe a slightly like a slight offshoot of like the heaviness that Lamb of God is, because they have a lot more like clean type singing and stuff like that. But certainly they've reached an awesome level. I mean, look at the festivals that they're playing, and the slots they're getting, and the people singing along. So yeah, their success is great. But both of them just lasted throughout it. where Chimaira, I don't know, I don't even know how to put it, but we got shot in the gut somewhere and then just never recovered. It just couldn't sustain. Had we sustained, let's say we were healthy, and after the infection, we felt healthy and put out another one and then another one, perhaps we'd be right up there, by this time. No one will ever know because it didn't happen that way. God forbid, couldn't hang on. Shadows Fall, couldn't hang on. So, I think that has a lot to do with it. Now, around that time when bands started seeing more success than us, that fuels them to hang on, and it makes it harder for us to hang on because of let's say disappointment, or seeing like, oh, why aren't we having that same success right now, and then second guessing ourselves and inner turmoil amongst the band, and it just starts to crumble. That's maybe that was that big storm that we just couldn't weather, where had we have said, we gotta, we're gonna persevere and push through and just try harder. Maybe it's our fault. Maybe our last album just wasn't good enough. Maybe we're not touring quite as enough as we should. We just got to push on through. And if we would have done that, who knows what the outcome would have been? But it didn't work, and so I really can't say exactly what happened. But whatever hit so many bands hit us, and it fell apart.
So endurance, that's a very interesting word.
Yes.
Maybe also because of the record label changing, because you started with Roadrunner, then went to Nuclear Blast, Ferret, right? Then E1, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that's about it, right? Maybe that's got something to do as well.
Perhaps. I think that those label changes, that we are just looking for greener pastures. Always, at least personally, I know I'm always a grass is always greener type of guy, where I see that the grass is green over here and I want to go there. In hindsight, Roadrunner was probably the best thing ever for us, but I was young and stupid and didn't know any better, and just thought that they weren't doing enough at the time, where they were still doing more for us than most labels even ever could think of. But we thought we wanted more, maybe because we saw other bands getting more, doing more. Why couldn't we have what Slipknot was getting? And just stupid stuff that I know now in a business sense, it's because the numbers reflect a lot of things. So at any rate, I don't know now that changing labels like that all the time was the best thing. I also don't want to blame our failures on that, because I just can't. Lots of bands change labels and still persevere. At the end of the day, it all just comes down to how great the music is. The music isn't good enough, it's hard to maintain anything. It's hard to maintain support from the label, from the fans, on the road, anything like that. So not that I'm doubting the music, but I have to look back and say that perhaps it just wasn't good enough, because if it was, we wouldn't be talking about it the way we are.
Mm-hmm. Right. Let's talk about the Infection album. And the Infection was an album that took by surprise most of the fans, because it was slower compared to the others, but still heavy and catchy. But why did you decide to go on that direction?
I don't think that there was a conscious decision to say this is the direction we're going to go in. I just think that that was just the riffs that were coming out at that time, and we gravitated towards. In hindsight, I think that for every record, just some riffs start happening, and when something catches on and we're like, oh, that feels good, oh, that sounds good, we start in that direction. And it's just we probably vision at that point and say, this is the path that we're going to follow, and we're going to complete the album like this. So I think that maybe we started off with some riffs like Try to Survive, and we were like, oh, that feels good. And I'd say for some reason, maybe that was one of the first tunes, if not the first tune for the record. And so once that's like kind of established as feeling good, and other people come around and say, oh, that sounds cool, it's got a cool vibe, little do they know the whole rest of the record is going to sound like that too. But but you know, it just kind of happens that way. I mean, there are a few cutaways, maybe broken glass.
Broken glass. Yeah, right.
Um, I don't know what else.
The
Maybe
venom
frozen in
inside is
time,
kind
something.
of
Yeah.
fast in some at some point of the track, right?
Yeah, but it's still got that
Yeah, at the
dun-dun-dun-dun.
beginning.
This
Yeah,
whole thing, this whole thing is what that whole album is about, you know.
exactly.
And
Yeah, really groovy.
perhaps it was too, yeah, perhaps it was too that the majority of that record was written just in the back lounge after shows. Mark and I said, all right, we're going to start working on this record on tour, and after the show, we'd come back there. So maybe it's because we were tired. Maybe it's because, you know, just relaxing, drinking, smoking, whatever, you know, and those are the tunes that would happen rather than coming to the practice space at noon like we would write other records and every day and everybody being there and stuff. So it was a different way of writing, and you know, it just is what it is, all part of the process.
And actually, that album did great because you got a tour with Disturbed around that
Hmm.
tour cycle, right? Arena tour.
Yes. My favorite tour ever. Yeah, we were invited on for that one, and there's just something special about playing arenas that I really enjoyed. The Disturbed fans were totally awesome to us. You know, just enjoyed the show every night. Lacuna Coil, Kill Switch, us and Disturbed. And there was also either for part of the tour like an outdoor festival type vibe. You know, Spine Shake was out there. Who else? Born of Osiris, maybe. I don't know. Suicide Silence, maybe. No, I can't remember everybody, but just a great vibe. And it's just I'm a big NBA fan, and playing some basketball arenas and stuff, and seeing that stuff backstage, and having your dressing rooms as the locker rooms, you know, where your choice of like a dozen showers or something, you know, just that's the type of stuff I like, you know, just rolling in style, parking inside, you know, the bus is like in the arena, like, you know, not even outside. It's stuff you dream of, stuff you see in the, you know, Pantera, Metallica videos growing up and stuff, and to have a little taste of that was just the almighty bite.
Mhm. Right. Before half of Chimera members left around 2011, was considered to take a year off to, let's say, recharge batteries. And what was the main reason for things started to fall apart around the Age of Hell recording?
Well, I think maybe just a lack of upward success, kind of like I was alluding to before. You know, with the infection, well, it afforded us some great tours. I don't think sales were climbing at a very steady rate. Um, I think that maybe the market at the time too, the shows weren't as well. Maybe people were burnt out on it. I don't know. Just things weren't feeling as good, and that creates static on every level. As I mentioned, from the labels, from the promoters, from the venues, and down into the band. Just that inner static happening. You know, all of a sudden, maybe things that bothered you before on the bus that somebody else does that didn't bother you before. Now it bothers you, and then there's bitching and people complaining and everything. So it all started, I think, when Jim's saying that he was kind of ready to throw in the towel, and Jim, you know, is just a great personality in the band. You know, uh, just lovable, can make everybody laugh, lights up every room he's in and stuff. And so that was kind of like a kick in the balls in a sense. But I said to Jim, I said, what if we were to take a year off? Because I could feel the tension building.
Mm.
Let's cool off and rethink things. And Jim said, okay, let's do that. And Jim and I sat the guys down and presented that to him. And every other, Mark, Matt, Andals, Chris, all said, no, we don't want to take any time off. And so we kept pushing forward, and Jim left, and then Chris had enough too. And there are things happen along the way that would push people over the edge. You know, and then the chips all started to fall. Like I said, it was just that somewhere we got punched, and it just started having devastating effects.
Mhm. And please tell me, how was the process to be friended with the Chimera guys again? because you stopped talking like what, 6 years, 7 years maybe. How
Yeah.
was that first call? Let's talk, let's get things smooth between us again, and then going to the reunion show in 2017. How was that process?
Well, I think it was kind of Mark on his island and the rest of us, kind of like it was for Crown of Phantoms. He went on and did his thing with a new group of guys, and we were all just doing our thing, but we all still communicated. And then maybe around, I don't know, let's call it 2015, maybe 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. Jim started talking about how he was thinking about trying to reconnect with Mark, or maybe Mark had put out some feeler that he wanted to reconnect with Jim. And Mark and Jim had been friends for a long time, long before Chimaira, since early high school. They had been playing in band and everything. So nobody
Skip
likes to hold
line,
a grudge.
right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Skip Line was the band that they were in high school. Yeah, and grudges get too heavy to carry sometimes over so many years, and you just want to go. And we had heard and hearing too from other people around the community that Mark had kind of turned a new leaf in life, and was looking to reconnect with us. And so Jim, I think Jim put a branch down for Mark, and they started talking. And Jim said to me, "Hey, Mark wants talk to you as well." And so I think he reached out maybe in an email at first and just said that, hey, just wanted to say hey, see if you wanted to talk and stuff like that. So he came at it nice and slow, and it was cool. And we started off slowly, just talking again. Jim brought up, I believe Jim brought up the idea about what about doing a reunion show, and that we started talking. What would the other guys think? We reached out to Chris. Chris was, iffy at first, but everything just was happening slowly over a year and a half, let's say. Okay, finally warming up. Matt was on board right away. Great, let's do it. I'm sick of the drama too. Let's do it. Andos was in right away as well. Told us that he was going to be cool, that he was going to be able to do it. And then the first time getting together, I think, like just Mark, Jim, and I, that was cool. The biggest thing is, and I know Jim, probably Mark would say, probably all the guys would say the same thing, is that the best thing was just getting that weight off your shoulders. It feels so much better now to have it in the past, to not feel any anguish, any anxiety, anything like that. It's just so much better. Feels so much better, especially when you're getting older. Life is short, whatever. It's way better to laugh with the guys and reminisce about the good times and have this opportunity to do what you and I are doing right now because everything's cool, rather than sitting there in hatred, wondering if we're gonna person, what you're gonna say to them and stuff like that. So it just feels so much better, and I'm so glad it happened. And then the fact that the reunion show came together and it was such a big success, and everybody feels great about it now. Just it wouldn't have it any other way.
Mhm. Great. And what's in the horizon for Chimera? Is it true that you guys were already talking about getting together and writing an album right before COVID hit?
It is. I mean, we had the next Chimera Christmas show, which was going to be Christmas of 2020,
Meaning this year.
meaning this year, had been booked, but it hadn't been announced yet. We weren't going to announce it, for until probably midsummer. But all the talks, I mean, we had already even started talking about set list and stuff like that. And then along with that, came the talks of, hey, why don't we start, writing some music, and just start putting some riffs together and sending them back and forth. And that didn't really get out of any infant stage. There aren't any songs or anything yet that are in the archive, anything like that. That never really lifted off, because right at that same moment is when COVID hit, and obviously everybody had to make huge adjustments right then, and just everything was put on. It's just been put on hold. A few weeks later, the show was canceled because it took a few weeks, everything snowballing for the touring industry to just completely shut off. For us to realize, way even announcing this without knowing if you're even going to be able to play live music at the end of the year yet, which obviously was a good choice for us, because you're not going to be able to. Nobody is.
Mhm.
Which I got a question about that. I want to ask you something in a sec. But yeah, so anyways, just everything has been completely put on hold. Where if COVID hadn't hit, it'd be a completely different story right now because the show would have already been on sale. Hopefully, it would have already been sold out. You already would have been seeing pictures and videos of our rehearsals by this time, all that kind of stuff. But hey, all I could say is maybe we'll try for next year. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, this time next year, everything that should have been happening right now will be happening. But I can't say. No one can say. So what I wanted to ask you though is, I just have been reading in metal news lately that Opeth is doing like some big tour, and I just wonder, have you heard that? And how are they touring? How are they the only band right now out there touring Europe?
No, I didn't hear about that, but I
No,
know that the band Ginger did a small tour in Europe, in some places in Germany, and maybe
really?
Switzerland too. Yeah, like a 4 or 5 day tour, like 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, because I
and
mean, there's no clubs open here in
yeah,
America, that I know of.
I think it's different from every state, and it's different also in all the countries in Europe. So it's not like the same regulations for everybody around the world. So maybe that's the
Yeah,
reason. Hmm.
perhaps. Yeah. But anyways, shame. Just there's so many facets to the live music world. From the caterers to the venue guys, to the sound guys, to the bands, just everything. It's nuts how it's just here one day, gone the next.
So is it safe to say that the three-headed monster is alive again?
Oh man, I
Maybe not
it's
alive and kicking, but at least alive.
yes, certainly reawakened and was prepped to emerge, and then just this phenomenon right now that's happening in the world that nobody has any answers for or any explanation for. So, not a stop to it in a way where it's dead, but I would say we've kind of crept back into the cave and we're just going to wait, right? Until it doesn't do us any good right now to try to get together to be active or anything like that with just so much uncertainty. So, I think that in Chimaira's situation, things that have to be back and the a healthy environment in every way again for us to say, all right, now's the time to release new music or something like that. We're not going to be one of these bands that's going to just write an album in COVID. I don't think, just we're too spread out right now. People have
Yeah.
the different lives going on and stuff like that. So there has to be good reason for us to get together. I'm not saying that fan appreciation and desire isn't good reason, but it all comes back to what I've said a few times here, that it's just easier said than done. It's not like you can snap a fingers and make a record.
And I think that the most important part is already done, that you guys are friends again, that the healing process is finally over.
Right. Well said. I agree. Nothing else could happen without that happening. So the fact that that has happened is the biggest hurdle has been crossed.
It's been 8 years since you left Chimera as a permanent member. Tell us about what you've been up to. Let's start with your musical projects, The Elite and The Disaster, please.
Sure. Yeah. Well, after I left with Chimera, I basically decided that I wanted to go into the direction of helping other bands make their music and recording and building a recording studio and that sort of thing. I'd kind of set my sights on that even before my last days in. And so right after leaving Chimera, I got started on that, and I had the intentions of making an album with my side project at the time, The Elite, and it just ended up really. We started working on it right away. Started writing. The guys would come into town, different sessions. They lived in California, so they'd come in for a month here or there, and we'd be building it and writing songs. But it really took years to finish off and mix and get it done. But that was a blessing because in those years, I learned so much by recording other bands, having local bands come in to record with me over the years, and just learning how to record and the things that you needed to learn. I was naive at first to think that I could just really just jump right into it and be good at it. But like anything that requires any skill, it takes time and experience. So I'm really pleased with the way the Elite Total Destruction record turned out and the way it sounds and all that. And it couldn't have had I not gained all that experience over the years and taken my time with it putting together. And in the midst of that, one of those local bands that came, a singer songwriter from Cleveland, a guy named Matt Demko, and he came in just with some song ideas and just we vibed really well. And I love for him and coaching him along in his vocals and we just I decided to kind of take the project on as my own, as a part of it as well. And you know, he came up with the name The Disaster, so we just started calling it that. So that's not really anything that ever like tour on or really even perform with or whatever. It's just kind of like some stuff that I thought was cool in the studio that we're putting out. And that's kind of where I'm at in life now too. Just kind of trying to create music just to put out there for people to enjoy. Now that's been on hold for a little bit as I've been transitioning into my new studio here due to COVID and all that. I'm building a new studio here at home and just really working on my YouTube channel as well, trying to do things like that. But it's all towards one goal, all just kind of leveling up in all sorts of little directions or little areas to try to get to the point where I can just create music full time from my own studio now here at home, which will make things a lot easier. Because I got 2 little kids at home and you know, my wife works full time, and so just been these all field and gearing up to this right now where I can collectively get together and just start pumping out music. I got a lot of things on the back burner. There'll be more Elite, there'll be more Disaster, there'll be more Chimaira one day. Who knows about that? I got projects with Arnold and Check, my record with Andals that I've been working on for years too, all just simmering on the burners right now, and they will see the light of day here hopefully soon.
Yeah, I was amazed by the quality of the Elite album. Actually, you have like 2 albums, right? An EP and then the album, right?
We did an EP. We did an EP in 2009. Yeah, the World War III EP, and then you know over those next few years is where I started thinking about how I just wanted to be able to make my own music and not have to pay recording studios. Well, I love being in recording studios. They're just expensive, and generally you need a budget from a record label to make that happen. And I decided I was going to try to just beat the game and figure it out myself, be able to do that myself and do it at my own pace and all that. And it's kind of what I've done. And so to hear that you were impressed with the quality of that means a lot to me because it's the first thing that I've ever really done myself, you know, like written and totally produced myself and did it all at my own place and everything. So I'm really proud of that for sure.
Yeah, it sounds really professional. But what really surprised me about this, besides the amazing songs, is the fact that you didn't go to tour because you were already out from Chimaira, right? So, are some touring, some North American touring, or some European touring for the future for the Elite?
I don't know. Honestly, that's just so much easier said than done. Um, Austin, the drummer, is really the only guy that's in the band that's kind of still in that life, you know. And let's just pretend for a moment that COVID didn't even exist, because obviously that
Yeah.
this has changed everything, you know.
Yeah, right.
But let's just say that didn't exist for a minute. Austin is the drummer of Devil Driver, and he you know, he's just in that lifestyle, and that's you have to be a part of that lifestyle and have to be able to be a part of that lifestyle. That means not having a lot of obligations at home to be able to go out and tour. And that's to say that people will even have you. It's not like anybody can just get up and go tour. You have to, there's a lot involved with that. People have to want to book your band. People have to pay your band enough for you to be able to survive out there, unless you have some investor. And that's just a whole nother ball game and weirdness. So I guess I always had the intention with the Elite to get out there and start it up as a band, to work from the ground up like we did with Chimaira and all that. But it proved to be way easier said than done, as our lives, my life had shifted with children and having responsibilities and a mortgage and things like that. I couldn't just put all of a sudden all my eggs into this basket and go try to hit the road again. And then TJ, the singer, he also had a life. None of us want anything more than to be out there jamming and playing rad shows and stuff like that. But it's just not like people think that it just happens, but there's just a lot to it, you know, way too much to it. And I'm not sure, actually. I think that some amazing offer would have to come in that we wouldn't be able to refuse, or some amazing opportunity. See, on the work, no problem. If the opportunity is there, if somebody says, hey, we've got you know, I don't know, some band, come open for us. We love your record. Just come open for us. I'd find a way to make that happen. I still have all the gear, all the know-how. I could put it together if I absolutely needed to. But it'd be something like that. We'd need some offer from some other band or something to say, hey, come along, come open our shows, something like that, which could certainly happen. You know, stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
But
Let's hope
it doesn't
in the
happen every
near
day.
let's hope in the near future you can open up for Devil Driver because your drummer plays there actually.
That'd be a great opportunity, and if it was there, we'd certainly take it.
Let's talk about your YouTube channel because you've been a YouTuber for like over a year, right? And you just hit a milestone, 10,000 followers. So congratulations on that one too. And let's
Thank you.
tell me something more about it. How did the idea come up to start this? Because it's a very demanding job as well, right?
Yes, it certainly takes a lot of dedication and consistency and all those things. I'm still trying to work on. I'm still not dedicated enough, still not consistent enough, still not hardworking enough. No matter how hard I try, it's just you just have to keep doing more and more, and the bar keeps getting raised, and the quality has to keep continuing to improve, and fresh ideas, and maintaining viewership, and just all these things that I'm still learning all the time. But let's just say about a year ago, I just felt this itch. I was inspired. I thought, not only do I have a place to do this and the ability to do this, I sorts of audio gear. Now I could just start off with iPhones filming, which I still use today. And people say that I've got the personality for it. I've got a lot to talk about. And I hadn't, at this point, I hadn't talked about Chimaira publicly for years. I would just bottle it up. Once the things with Chimaira ended, I just kind of just shut it off like a faucet. And so once Chimaira did that reunion show in 2017 and everything became cool and everybody was friends again, all of a sudden I had this fountain inside of me that I wanted to let out there of Chimaira information and questions people have been asking me for years, and telling my story and talking about 6 Feet Under and having an outlet for the elite music and just showing people cool guitar stuff and things like that. And I thought, why don't I just start making videos and see what happens? Now, as I started doing that, I started absorbing, like I do with anything that I want to learn. I just dive right into and learn as much as I can and watch other people's videos on it and read about it and stuff like that. And I just saw all the things that it would take to get a thing off the ground, and how you just have to keep grinding, and how at first there's only going to be a few people that watch your videos and that you got to stick to it. Now, I was fortunate that I already had this slightly built-in audience because of Chimaira, so that really helped get things rolling for me. But the point where I said, all right, I need to stop working on audio for local bands and taking on jobs and stuff like that with music if I want to focus on this thing 100%. And that's what happened about a year ago. So I just stopped taking on any audio work. And I had a couple guys that I've been working with over the years that had unfinished projects that we still work together a little bit, but I haven't taken on any new projects in over a year now. And I've just been dedicating myself to the channel, which rounds out what I started at the beginning. It takes this massive undertaking and just a lot of work and commitment to try to make it happen. And while 10,000 subscribers is super small peanuts to some, it's still an enormous milestone for any just young creator that's trying to get things going. And it's kind of it doesn't really mean anything other than, wow, you here go in and see what can happen. It's really just a push of motivation to say, I made it to 10. Can I get to 20? Can I get to 100? 100,000. So, and you see other guys doing similar things as you, some of your peers from the industry that have fallen into this as well, and they're being successful with it. So that's motivation, and proud of those guys and all in their circle. And I've had support from everybody that's been watching. Everybody seems to be positively commenting on the stuff, enjoying it. So I'm just going to keep going and see how far it can take me as well. And this platform that I'm building as well is so that when I can release new music, there's a bigger platform for it to be released on. When I released the Elite over 2 years ago, or whatever it was, 2 years ago, my platform was still relatively small. So not a lot of people know about it. Still, people comment every single day, oh, I've never heard the Elite. This stuff's awesome. How did I not know about this? If I had a bigger platform to release it from, like a record label or whatever, but I'm not even considering that. I just want this YouTube platform now that I can put stuff out there, and I really feel that's going to be the catalyst for getting my music out there, which is priority number one.
Mm-hmm. I think you got inspired by Ola England from The Haunted. to start your own YouTube channel, right?
I certainly saw his stuff. He was doing, in my opinion, even still, well, especially at that time, or even still, he was. I thought of him as doing like gear review type stuff. I had always known of him, and certainly I heard his name because he replaced me in 6 Feet Under. And it's funny. Just the other day, I came across. He commented 8 years ago. Oh, it's 8 years ago, and it's Ola commenting on a 6 Feet Under playthrough, like and lesson video that I did years ago. And he's like, "Awesome, Rob, just when I needed it," you know. And it's funny. So back that was he was probably small time then, but still he was on 6 Feet Under's radar, and they brought him in, to replace me at the time. So that's how I had heard of him. And then over the years, I just see in my feed or whatever he's doing some, Boss delay pedal review or some crank amp or whatever, and that's just what I thought he was, just completely doing that. And I watched one, or somebody referred me to him. I think they said, "Hey, Ola mentioned you like in one of his Q&As or whatever." So I watched and I thought, man, I could do this too. And it was right around that exact same time that I was deciding to move those eggs into this basket and do it. So yeah, I was certainly inspired by what he was doing, and his success is just tremendous, obviously, with
Yeah.
it. And I never even have dreams of that, because I'm not really interested in all the gear review stuff or whatever, which I know is a huge market. I just kind of like just conversing and talking and doing things like kind of like we're doing, the things that I'm doing, whatever. And I think that the ceiling is smaller for that, and that's okay. But still, certainly, I know how it works. I'm sure people see me doing it in my small platform and say I can do that too, and that's awesome. And that's what this whole thing is about: motivation, creation, learning, education, entertainment, all that. And it's a really cool thing that we have.
And finally, for this YouTube chapter, tell me more about your Patreon community. What can we get in this Patreon community with you?
So yeah, I around that same time, somebody showed me somebody's Patreon page, and I had never even heard of Patreon. And I saw that it was kind of like a GoFundMe, but more of like a subscription based thing, where an ongoing thing where people can contribute monthly to just whatever project that they like, or something they believe in, whether it's something being built, or a YouTube channel, or a talk show, or it could be a multitude of things. But part of, I'll keep referring to those eggs in the basket. There really is no money to be made from YouTube until you have reached a certain level of success. Even right now, my YouTube income is certainly nothing that I couldn't make. It's not providing a living by any means. It's maybe keeping gas in the car, for the month or something like that. So, but to put the time into it, and to say I'm not going to take on any other work, I knew that I needed another source of income. And so I thought, if I could take advantage of this Patreon thing, and if there are people out there who love what I'm doing enough and love the content, or have loved Chimaira over the years and want to follow along with what I'm doing now, and they have the means and the ability and the desire to support me at whatever level is good for them in this Patreon community, perhaps I can garner enough support for that to supplement my income, so that I can focus on the YouTube and focus on my music creation. And I've been successful with that, and I've had so many generous folks come on board to support the channel. And some of the things that I'm offering through there is just kind of like the first looks and first listens at the videos, and things that I have going on, behind the scene things. Certain tiers have access to that Andals that record with Andals, my solo project with Andals. That as soon as that's done, you're going to get that. I'm going to send that to you directly. Having your names listed in the video, just as people who have supported and helped and stuff. I know that's important to some people, so that's cool. Other people don't care about that, and that's fine too. But I like to give thanks to the people that are supporting it at certain levels there. So just appreciate everybody and everything they've done, and it's been a real help. And still could use all the support I could get, and the more people that come on board, just the faster I can accomplish things, and the better my creations will become.
Besides all that, people can get also audio files, like Chimaira audio files, some cool obscure videos from back in the day,
Definitely. I try to post there. I don't really post a lot on like social media, like most people do, like, oh, here's me doing this, or here's here's something, some cool picture or whatever. I don't really do that. I really only use social media to promote my YouTube videos, to say, hey, here's a new video. But in Patreon, that's where I do post more stuff like, hey, here's some old Chimaira video that you guys might like that I don't have on my YouTube channel. Here's some old Chimaira flyers you guys might like. Here's some old Chimaira show. Here's the audio from it or the video from it. Check out these old pictures that I came across from this photo set. Just stuff that people don't really get to see. My patrons can see, and that's one of the perks. And if people like that behind the scenes type of stuff, then you can get more of that by patreon.com/RobArnoldWorld. So that's where I make my posts. If you want to get a little bit closer, a little more direct communication and see some of those cool things, that's where I'm doing that kind of stuff.
Awesome.